A good afternoon to everyone, depending on where you're watching from today. Good morning, good evening. My name is Patrick Okokwe. I am a doctoral researcher at the University of Exeter Business School, and I'm going to be your host through a conversation I'm going to have with John Elliot Hagan.
Hi, Patrick.
Chevening Scholarship recipient at the University of Westminster. John.
Hi, Patrick.
You have the floor to introduce yourself briefly.
All right. So, as Patrick rightly said, I'm John Elliot Hagan. I got a Chevening Scholarship in the year 2020, 2021. Yeah, I'm done with school now and currently based in the UK, working with an NGO based in London. Yeah, so I came in here to at least churn out information regarding the Chevening Scholarship. So, myself and Patrick will be doing this for the next hour or so, yeah.
Thank you very much, John, for coming on my program today. And I am 100% confident that you are going to share some wonderful and great insights that are going to be very, very helpful for people that are preparing for the next Chevening scholarships, and even for those that are preparing for their interviews.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah.
For the upcoming Chevening interview for shortlisted candidates. So
Yeah.
there is a signature question that we ask on this very platform, which is to ask our discussants to tell us one very, very significant discovery about themselves between when they started pursuing scholarships until when they backed the scholarship that they won to study for free abroad. What has been that significant discovery in between these 2 points when you were pursuing and until when you found or backed this very scholarship? What did you find about yourself?
Yeah, so maybe if you should break it down for me, because it could be is it a travel experience or
so in between when you started applying for scholarships,
yep,
until when you got the scholarship, so before you traveled, I mean, in between, what did
okay,
you discover about your own self?
I get it. So in my case, I was all over the place because I just finished my first degree and the target was to travel and have a scholarship that the following year. Like, I don't want to stay home, and because like, personally, I had a working experience for a long time before I went to uni. So I was like, no, if I want to finish first degree, second a master's or a second degree should come up quickly, immediately after first degree. So I think I graduated in July, and around October, towards the next academic, I was like, okay, I have between the July, August, when new academic year is we're opening, from July to December, to be able to finish all my applications. Because I know most of the application, including Chevening, Commonwealth, everything ends usually around December, January there. So it was a multitask stuff for me. I was applying for Chevening, I was applying, so the journey, yeah, how we met several times to work on our essays and all of that. So between September to January, I should be done with all my applications. Around, I think, February, thereabout, I tried one or two schools, but at the time, I had done 3 main. I did some schools to Canada, I did Commonwealth and Chevening. So these 3 main scholarships, yeah, I did it. And of course, there were some, even though I believed in myself, there were some times I had a bit of, uncertainties whether it's going to work, because I knew what I was bringing on board, but I didn't want to leave any stone unturned. So it for the first 4 months, from the September to January, it was a bit of, questioning yourself and all of that, until my shortlist for Chevening came out. Yeah, at least I can see some positives. I can see that, okay, at this point, something, because for the Chevening, it was my first time, my very first time. The year before I finished my first degree was when I actually started reading about it. trying to find out what are the eligibilities, whether I'm a fit candidate and all of that. So it was that January that I got that first hint based on the interview, how do you call it, invitation. I was like, okay, now it looks like because Chevening was one of the scholarships I wasn't so sure about. Because Commonwealth, yeah, I saw that, okay, even though it's also a first venture, I had that kind of belief that, okay, I can do it. But for Chevening, looking at the people who had won previously, like people that I know, in their caliber in society, and I'm like, okay, yes, I trust myself. I know I have it, but my first time, have I done everything right? Because even my essays, I just wrote it, sent it to one friend who had a scholarship 3-4 years ago. I sent it to her, just one touch. She sent it back to me, and she was like, yeah, I have to just apply brevity because it's like I've packed every information I should. So she gave me the guide, what I should just do. And that was, I'm like, okay, even though I trust myself and what I've done, I wasn't sure. And looking at the numbers, so if you ask me, it was from the interview stage till the results came finally in June, where I had that kind of bit of, hope. But from the beginning, it was a bit uncertain. I didn't know, it was my first time. I've never gone on this scholarship journey before. I don't know what it entails. I just put in place all my strength, all my marshals, and I just shot it. You get it? Yeah.
So the question is in between, from when you started, putting in applications,
Yeah.
and waiting until when you won one scholarships or even multiple scholarships.
Yeah.
What did you discover? What did you find about your own temperament, what did you find about yourself?
Okay, so like I was saying, for me, I had the patience. My little challenge was the little doubts I had, not doubt about myself, but like I wasn't sure of the outcome, especially for Chevening. For Canada, I was so sure because it was an issue of having the money to pay for admission. How do you call it? For application fee. I did a couple of applications. I paid for it. Actually, I think $40 Canadian dollars. Yeah, I did. I paid twice, but I was looking for scholarship in that domain as well. And Commonwealth, like I said, even though the school that I applied for, it was only one slot for five courses. So yes, in between, if we talk about temperament, I was very patient, but I was a bit scared, for Chevening in particular, But Commonwealth, like I had that belief that, okay, something will go through. Then I have a bit of doubt that, okay, so in terms of temperament, I had a patience, but there was a bit of fear for the first 3-4 months until Chevening gave me that hope when I got shortlisted, because we were over 2,300 and 60 were shortlisted. My first attempt, in my cohort, I was among only 3 of us who had applied for the first time. All of them had come second, third, fourth attempt. Some even came 5th attempt. It was my first attempt. Like, okay, if my essay should go through just in the first attempt, then probably I've done something really right. So like I said, from September to January, I had the patience, but just with a bit of doubt, So even though after the Chevening, if you can remember, I was seeing you often. I even tried to apply to a couple of schools, but I gave up. I'm like, it looks like it, From February to the June, before the result of the interview came, that was when I was like, okay, it looks rosy. It looks like it's going to work. But the first 4 months, September to January, I had a patience because I knew January was coming, and I knew I have a bit of options. But I wasn't in a hurry to see what is coming. I was curious, yes. I was a bit scared, yes. But I had the patience because I know definitely January is coming, and sometimes I don't even want it to come because I don't want to get story that would tie their heart. I didn't want that. Yeah, but I had the patience to wait for the outcomes.
Fab. Good to know.
Yeah.
About your enduring spirit.
Yeah.
Throughout when you waited for the outcome of your scholarship application. All right. So today we'll be having a long conversation about the Chevening Scholarship tenable in the UK. Could you now tell us all that you know about this Chevening scholarship. What makes it prestigious? What is the scholarship package like? What makes people want to try and keep trying until they back that prestigious Chevening scholarship, tenable in the UK?
So basically, the Chevening Scholarship gives beneficiaries the opportunity to study subjects in almost any field. And they go on to implement their ideas for positive change in a range of sectors. This is a scholarship sponsored by the British government through their Foreign and Commonwealth Office and its partner organizations. This scholarship covers, how do you call it, full tuition, your visa, your international health surcharge fees, your flight in and out, and while you are studying for 1 year, you will receive monthly stipends. Mostly this covers other scholarship, but Chevening, this is it. And Chevening is targets, how do you call it, outstanding emerging leaders from all over the world, like Chevening and eligible countries, which is about 165 countries. If you go on the Chevening website, you see all these countries and countries where applicants are eligible to apply. So one thing I have to say, there's no tag on who a typical scholar is. Anybody can be a Chevening scholar based on what you need to do. And with this scholarship, you have to write 4 essays. You should be able to, and these 4 essays, namely an essay on leadership, networking, studying the UK, and your career plan. Through these 4 essays, you should be able to demonstrate that you have the passion, the idea, and the influence to provide solutions and the leadership capabilities to make a change or create a better future in your environment. You understand me? And if you ask me who can apply for Chevening, it requires the applicants to have at least 2 years working experience. So these 2 years working experience include either a full-time employment, a part-time employment, voluntary work, paid or unpaid internship. So somebody will ask, okay, if it's a full-time employment and I'm just done with school, how would I be able, probably you want to get a scholarship just right after school. I got right after school, but in my case, I had worked and packed about 7 years experience already. Even if you don't have that, you should make sure that every semester throughout your university education, you should have something like an internship and be recording the hours, maybe every term, instead of you staying at home or not making good use of the time. Just get yourself, engaged, even if it's an unpaid internship. Calculate the hours, record it. So at the time, you should be able to make up the total hours, which is around 2,800 hours. So, for instance, if in your first year university, apart from the mandatory, how do you call it, internship, if you have a vision of becoming a scholar, even not Chevening, I don't know about other scholarship, but for Chevening, it's one of the mandates, a mandatory requirement. You need to have these 2,800 hours. So if you know this even before you come out of school, you should make sure that every vacation you get yourself enrolled in one kind of, how do you call it, internship, where you can do something, put up some hours, document it, and splash it out when the time is due. So you just check the hours, but you must meet these 2,800 hours within any time of work frame. So if it's your first 2 years or throughout your 4 years, you should be able to meet this. It's one of the eligibility requirements. You have to have 2,800 hours. Also, you must apply to 3 different UK university courses. It could be the same school with 3 different courses, or 3 different courses across 3 different schools. You just have to have 3 different courses. And you should have at least have an unconditional offer from one of these choices by the deadline listed on the application timeline. If you go on the chevening.org, you see all these timelines. They make it available towards every application period. Yeah. And one other thing, you must have completed a full component of an undergraduate degree. So it could be a polytechnic, a degree, even medicine, and it cuts across all fields. So like I said, there's no typical Chevening scholar. There's no, okay, when I get, I will explain, because there are some myths around the Chevening scholarship. So Sorry, when I get that, I will explain. But in the meantime, the eligibility criteria is you must apply to 3 different schools, like I said. You must have had unconditional offer before the end of the deadline given on the application website. You are ineligible for Chevening Scholarship if you hold a British or dual citizenship. You shouldn't be a British citizen. You shouldn't have a dual citizenship. You shouldn't hold a refugee status in a non-Chevening country. You shouldn't be an employee of a UK government. You shouldn't have been previously sponsored by a UK government in any form of scholarship. You get it? So these are some of the eligibility criteria. Ineligibility criteria. Yeah. What do you say?
I'm saying, all right. So how about so what's the class designation that is required to enter the Chevening? Is this specifically for people with first class, or any people with any class designation can have a chance, fair chance with the Chevening Scholarship?
No. Yes, as a first class student, you have an upper hand. Yeah, you have that kind of advantage. But you can still apply and win a Chevening Scholarship with either a 2-1 or a 2-2. But there is an exception to this. Yeah, you can win the Chevening Scholarship, but then again, if you are coming with such a grade, then you should have a very strong professional background. You get it? Probably you've done marvelous stuff in your chosen field. You've won awards. You're outstanding. You've done impact. You have numbers to back it up. You have all the accolades. You understand me? Yes. That way you may I can say from experience that you maybe have a better chance than somebody who just come in first class. Yes, scholarships are focused on academic merits, but Chevening, they also want that kind of marketing, that bragging right. They want to know that, okay, we are associated with brands. You get it. You should be academically good, fair enough. But then again, you should be somebody. So Chevening is not that kind of normal scholarship where they look at, okay, my parents are poor. I'm from a poor background. Yes, if you need a financial assistance, it will come in. But that alone doesn't suffice. It doesn't work that way. You find it very funny that, okay, this guy is a big person in society. He's well known, but he's still getting he's still got a Chevening Scholarship. Yes, it's not really about the financial assistance. It's about the pedigree, and they look at. That's why people say the Chevening Scholarship is prestigious, because at the end of the day, it's not just about supporting financial, the financial bit. It's about your influence, what you're able to do within your sector, who you are, like the impact, So people who are in leadership positions, people who have the zeal, people who have shown signals that, okay, I can make a change. I have the voice, I have the passion, I have the ideas. I can provide solutions, and have the leadership capabilities to make a change within my my space, to create a better future. It's not just about you, it's about the impact, the people you support, how your scholarship will have impact on people. You get it? So yes, it comes back to that 2.1 can get you a Chevening Scholarship based on your professional background.
Yeah. So as John clearly nailed it, you need to have at least a degree. Very, very important.
Exactly.
And then secondly, you need to have at least 2 years of working experience. At least it's actually a key criteria.
Yeah.
And that is how the Chevening body has branded itself to attract people with working experience. So if you are coming from school, even right from school, without any working experience, even from internships, then Chevening Scholarship, which is tenable in the UK, is not for you.
Beautiful. Yeah, so maybe I'll use the opportunity to touch down on some of the myths. I don't know if you want to go straight to that, or
we'll get back to that because of time.
Okay.
All right. So let's move straight to the essays. What does a winning essay or essays of Chevening Scholarship looks like? If you can take us through one by one the essays that must be written, and what should be the core components of these essays.
Yeah, so The essays are based on 4 thematic areas. Your leadership essay, yes, that's it, that's the topic, leadership and influence. Then we have networking. Then we have study in the UK and your career plan. Yeah. So the questions, are set differently and based on what you are bringing on board. So for the leadership, it should not just be, okay, I'm a leader. You don't say to them, you have to, what's the word, demonstrate, demonstrate on paper that, okay, if I say I'm a leader, it's not like I'm a leader and taking the accolades. It might affect society positively. Your leadership skills, your networking skills, your career plan, whatever you're going to study. These are things that should affect people, before you should have demonstrated it on your essays, how these 4 areas have affected people around you. You get it? So if I should use my essay as an example, even by the time you are done with the essays, your examples should tell them that, okay, this guy is a potential leader. This guy has used his leadership prowess to support people, to make change, to impact the lives of people positively. It shouldn't be that big. You can still be a minister, but your leadership skill is whack. You're not using the position positively. So what I mean to say here is, it's not about how big the position is. It's about even as little as the position is, you were able to touch lives, with the position. You get it? If I should tell you the examples I listed in my essays, yes, it looks a bit, it's okay, but then again, it's the impact, how I was able to turn stories around with these examples. So in the essays, yes, you are not supposed to get it. You have to tell a story. Don't mention it. Don't tell them who you are. Show them. You get it. So you need to write it, give the right examples, demonstrate. It's more about demonstration. In the essay, the examples, and it should link. Don't let them stand alone. If it's our leadership, your examples should link some way, somehow to your networking examples. They should be different, but they should link. Don't just do things haphazardly, like your leadership. If you should give examples, yeah, this time around it's not leadership, but use that same capabilities to network and be able to achieve something for people around you, and for the benefit of people around you. Yeah, so maybe let me finish with the leadership in terms of example. I'll quote 1 or 2. So in my case, I use my secondary school, how do you call it? My secondary school period as an example, where I was the sports prefect. So they don't need to know you as a sports prefect. You are a sports prefect, so what do you do with it? So the example I gave was, okay, as a sports prefect, I was able to make a voice for the part-time student because they were excluded in the school sporting activities. They were not allowed to take part because the argument was that they don't spend much time in the school like the regular students. So when it comes to sports, no matter how good you are not considered to partake in the sporting activities. They assume that you may not be available to present yourself for training. So this was an assumption. Meanwhile, I was able to identify that there were equally good and even much more better players, better sporting guys in the part-time school, but their time frame is not helping them. And that sort of exclusion wasn't the best. So I put in, so the Chevening Scholarship, one important thing is you can't do without it. You have to apply the STAR method, where the S is situation, the T is tax, the A is action, then the results. Sometimes you can even apply the L, the STAR L, the lessons learned thereof, but mostly focus on the STAR approach, which is the situation, like I explained, the tax, action, and your results. So I use the situation, the STAR approach. The situation was that these part-time students were not included in the sporting activities. My task was to make sure that I put in an effective approach. In this case, I put in a communication. I made a proposal to the school. From the start, they were a bit, the body language. They were dragging their feet. They didn't want to come up with this meeting. I persuaded it. I wrote, because I was the sports prefect, and I don't just want to be a passive sport prefect. You're a passive prefect, so you just came in and 1 year, you are done, you are gone. No, I wanted to make a mark. This was decade ago, years back. I wasn't doing it with Chevening, but this is what Chevening wants, things that you have done to show that you have leadership. So I was not just a sport prefect, but I showed potential. Okay, if this small position, I was able to make a change. That means if I further my education and I go for it and I follow my potential, this is how the outcome will be like. So they want you to show them some of these things in your essays. So I made the communication, I put it out there. I explained to them why, like the point I was making here, why these students are supposed to be part of the sport, because we want the school to have a very good name. And we have we are all shouting about the Blast Stars now, that we are not using the right players or the best players, So if you say we want to make noise, we want the school to be there in terms of sport, then we have to present our best products. And these are people in the part-time department. So why are we not involving them? Have we tried and they're telling that they can't make it for training and all of that? We should give them chance. And I was able to win this particular argument. They gave some of them chance. Our results changed for the better. The school, the school got the needed recognition through sports, So this was, for me, a big example. I put it out there. The second example was at my tertiary, where I was in a journalism school, but the school lacked practical, the practical approach. It was just what we were studying in the classroom. If you don't have the chance to have yourself in a media house, then it will just be like theory. So me, as a media person who has been in the field for like 5-7 years, I was able to mentor some of my classmates. During free time, I gather them, I take them through the rudiments, what they should expect in the field, and all of that. Through that, I was able to mentor some interns. Some of them went further to get jobs and all of that. So while I was preaching this in my essays, I was citing numbers. I was using the SMART approach as well, the realistic approach, the numbers, the impact. So even if it's 4 people, at the end of the day, that my mentorship session, was able to impact. It's no longer 0. You get it? I've been able to touch people positively. Made their studies more holistic. I've been able to infuse some sort of practical lessons to support what they are learning in the classrooms. You get what I'm trying to say? So these are the 3 examples, but then again, you need to know how to put them together. You should just tell a story. At least we've all been told how to write. So just use the SMART approach, use the STAR approach, and just start with the situation. Always start with the situation. Then you talk about the tasks involved in making this work. You talk about the action. Then most importantly, you state the results using numbers, using figures, and putting your story across. And you apply the same examples in the networking. So for instance, if I use this example in the networking, I don't necessarily have to use the same example. I should use the same approach. Let me give you a clue here. I use the example as mentorship, and getting people with the wherewithal to be able to practice journalism or go ahead with their journalism career. But when I came to networking, I use the contacts that I have in the media space to then again help some of these people get internships. So you see, it links. It's the same approach, the same mentorship, but now it's not about leading them to get better. Using my network to help these people get internship. You understand the link? So yes, I may have different example. I had a second example where I belong to an NGO and I use the same contact I have in the media. This time, not talking to people, but I was part of an NGO where I use my contact to bring on board people who can help the NGO to carry some of their positive causes. Go to places, get things done, use contacts to get stories written, to project problems. You understand, to get solutions and all of that. So it's all about your examples and how you're able to demonstrate them on paper. So leadership, I've been able to cite my 3 examples here. Networking, I use my contact to get internship for these students that I was mentoring in school. So my networking and how I use it to affect my classmates and those who were able to find themselves around my circle. Also, how I use my network to get people on board to fix problems in society. How I was able to use my contact to be able to get links, to be able to chase problems, to be able to project it in my newspaper and all of that. So for leadership and networking, it's basically about your examples and things that you are able to do or things that you have been able to do and how you're able to tell them as a story in your essay. When you go to your how do you call it, just study in the UK, people switch. You can do a course that will not necessarily link with your master's, but ideally it should be a course that reflects your academic background or professional background and also syncs with your future aspiration. You get, it may not be the same course, the same thing you studied in your first degree, but they should be, interlinked, where when you are coming out, your career plan, it links to your career plan. So you look at the courses, it may be the same, in the UK, the schools have the same courses, but their models and the way the subjects have been coined are different. So you can have the same course in 3 different schools, but it comes in a different made up. Their setups are different. You get it? And when you're able to pick your school, you should be able to explain why you chose this particular course, what you are looking out for this particular course, why you have selected these models, and all, because the models are there. You necessarily don't have to do everything. You select the number of courses and the models you want to do. So they are set up in such a way that, okay, you can have 3 similar courses. Even one school, depending on your capabilities, you can just pick one school and splash your 3 courses there and just state that, okay, then you need to convince them that you want to go to this school, not just because of the academic requirements or because of the nature of their courses or the made up of their courses. You want to, because the study in UK also captures why you want to be in this particular city, what gets your attention, how is it satisfactory for you to want to go to this school. So apart from the academic disciplines, you should be able to also state why you want to be in this city, what amazes you about this city, why you want to go to this school. Probably you are speaking to one professor and you think you are very interested in their work. So you feel like if you go to this school, this professor will be of great benefit to you when you get closer to this professor in this particular school. So the study in the UK basically captures your courses and why you want to choose this school, or why you want to choose this course. And the models, you have to explain. You have 500 words to be able to explain yourself. My first choice is University of so and so. I want to pursue this course. I want to pursue this course because this particular model is ideal for my short-term plan, for my medium-term plan. Okay, I want to. It's just about being truthful to yourself and explaining why you have chosen these particular courses and what they mean to you. So the study, you have to choose 3 courses, like I've said earlier, 3 different courses from 3 different schools, or one school with 3 different courses. So it's just basically 3 different courses. It doesn't matter whether you choose all the 3 courses from one school or you choose it from 3 different schools. All you have to do is choose 3 different courses and make sure you get an offer before the deadline. Usually the deadline is after your interview and everything. Usually it's around June, July, because if at that time, before, Chevening used to have their English requirements, but now they take, during the pandemic, they started with my batch. Because of the pandemic, most people couldn't book for their IELTS, so they canceled that. But you still have to meet the English requirement from this. So check with the schools and see whether the school that you're applying for will require English tests. If there is a way you can waive it, you can write to the school to explain to them why you don't need it, because perhaps your degree was in English, so you don't need to write IELTS. Some of the schools are very keen and difficult with that, so they will still tell you to write the IELTS. But if you have a school that do not, my school, for instance, I was lucky, even though Chevening was insisting we should write IELTS, my school waived the English language requirement for me. So even though my colleagues, some of them wrote it because Chevening was keen on it, their schools were forcing them to provide English tests. They had no choice than to write it. But in my case, I escaped it because my school was okay with me without English requirement. Meanwhile, Chevening was insisting. By the end of the day, by the last minute when Chevening had cancelled it, my school had given him the green light. So I was able to skip the English language. So since then, they skipped it. Students are no longer, applicants are no longer dealing with the Chevening English requirement, but you have to make sure you sort that out with your school. You understand? So that is that for the study in the UK. Then you come to your career plan. Your career plan, you should break it down into 3 steps. Your short or immediate term. That is between 1 and 2 years upon your return. They expect you to be able to break down what you are doing, what you will be doing immediately after you are done with school and you come back to your home country. The first 2 years, what you are going to do. You state that you usually this you should be able to link it directly with what you have studied, because seasons change, things change, plans change. Yes, maybe just after school, I want to put in practice what I've studied. I want to just go directly into the field. You understand me? Yes, after 2 years, I may have a different career perspective. I may want to change and digress into another field. So your medium term should then tell them you can still follow 1 to 2 years. Yeah, the short term, the same thing, you progress into the 10 years period. But most of the time, the medium term changes. So it depends on your individual circumstances and what you want to do. But the most important thing is your first 2 years, it should be something you are giving back to society. Me, after 2 years, yes, I've chosen to do something else. You understand me? Yeah, the 2 years is to talk to Chevening. I said talk to Chevening. Go ahead and do whatever Chevening is expecting of you. The first 2 years, you should give back. I was in journalism, I was in media. Yes, the first 2 years, I was writing stories, I was doing all the impacts. I'm in my 3rd year. I'm not even in Ghana. I'm back to the UK doing something differently. I'm doing something differently, which is something not so tied up to my first and the second and then my master's degree. You get it? So your first 2 years, you tell them what you need to do. Your first 5 years, yes, you tell them your medium term and what you need to do. Then the long-term plan, which is the 5 to 10 years, you tell them. So your career plan should focus on the first 2 years, first 5 years, first 10 years, while telling them why you want to do this, just justifying why you want to do this, why you are going towards this line of career and all of that. So the career plan is broken down into these 3 steps.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So beautiful. So that's the recommendation letter play a role in securing this very scholarship. And at what point are you required to upload your recommendation letters?
So your recommendation letters, usually you should be able to upload it before your interview date, because you have me, for instance, I applied and I did everything without recommendation letter. But make sure before you get on this journey, you have been able to speak to your supervisors, your referees, and they're on standby. Because yes, you don't need to go ahead and post your recommendation letter if you are not shortlisted for interviews. But once you are shortlisted for interviews, and that is the time you would want to speak to people, if you're not careful, you'll be very hot. So my suggestion is, yes, you don't know the outcome, but get people ready that, okay, when we say we are going, your people, you have people that you can rely on, that in this case, referees that you can rely on to get you your letters. In my case, immediately I was shortlisted. I had I think 5 days or I was supposed to post the letters before a certain date, before my interview, basically. But I had this referee the same referee was the one who wrote my, how do you call it, my academic, your admission reference. Yeah, so it should be the same person. If you have to have one academic is ideal. Yes, you can have 2 academic, but most of the time it's ideal to have 1 academic, 1 professional. So these people are people definitely you have started a journey with in terms of your admission pursuit and all of that. So mostly they should be on standby and get your recommendations letter ready before your interview.
So what role did would you say the recommendation letter played in securing your scholarship for you? Because look, I've seen people that have received 4-lined recommendation letters.
Exactly.
Very brief. That does not really speak to any situation. They just say, "Oh, he's an excellent staff."
It's not advisable. It speaks
I
volume.
want to know the role that the recommendation letter that you were provided with played in securing the scholarship. Would you say it did, and how?
Yeah, I must say it did, because this whole scholarship journey, you as the applicant, you must be very intentional about it. You can't just wake up and, yes, like in my case, like I became serious about it, I think a year to when I realized that, okay, my GPA was okay. I could come out with first class. If I look at my media journey, I've won few awards. I was out there. So I'm like, okay, I think let me not backslide. Let me just go all out and finish. So, like I'm saying, I had this rapport with lecturers who I can call even out of school. I always talk to them. These are people I've built friendship outside the classroom. So you can't just be that student. You go to school after class, you pick your bag and you go, and then after school you want to go. No, they'll stress you, because sometimes you have not even left any mark. They don't even know you by face. They don't even know you by name. They don't even know your face as, okay, this is one of the people I taught in class. So it is very essential for you to build that kind of rapport in school, even at work. You should have that relationship with you. No matter how cruel your boss may be, you should be able to build that kind of relationship. My boss, if I should call him right now, unless he doesn't see my call, it's not like I'm bragging, but like I have built that kind of relationship with him that, okay, even after working hours, sometimes I even have to go to his house on weekends for him to sign letters for me, because I remember my Commonwealth, when I was finally shortlisted, like when I was finally giving the nod, I needed to just send a letter quickly. It was a Saturday, I had up to Monday. I went to his house on Sunday. He signed everything for me. You know, so you should be intentional about it. It's not too late, but I'm coming to the point that you need to have this kind of relationship with your people, your referees, so that when they are writing, even without saying to them what they should write, ideally they should write without you telling them. But sometimes they'll tell you, okay, write, and when it gets to me, I'll vet it and know whether I should add or I should take something off. But you should have that kind of relationship where your referee should be able to boldly write things about you without you telling them what they should do. So it makes if I should check my references, I should tell that, yes, even though it only play like 10% role, it's still very important, because they painted a picture, a very positive picture, a full page. They wrote something substantial about me, and I'm sure if that was a factor, it really played a good factor in my case.
Beautiful. So references does really play a huge role in securing any fully funded scholarship. So therefore, you need to build rapport with people around you, within your network, in school, at your workplace, so people can provide very detailed feedback or reports about you in your recommendation letter. Now, let us jump quickly into interviews. Do we have interviews as part of this scholarship application? And how does this interview process looks like, if there is one? And at what point, and the third part is that at what point do you get invited for an interview?
So interview, you are invited for an interview when your essay is shortlisted. So usually you have a whole lot of numbers applying for this scholarship, but unfortunately, it's not everybody who, because Ghana, for instance, every year on the average they select like 20 out of over 2,000 applications. So you can imagine they select. This is what they have been doing for the past years. I didn't follow it the last year, and I'm sure it hasn't changed. They select usually around 60 people for the interview. So they select, they call it 1 out of every 4. They select 1. So they select like 60, then they'll choose like 20, that kind of thing. So it's a very crucial and very competency-based interview, because all the shortlisted people are Chevening potential winners. But then again, you can only justify your inclusion by proving a point in the interview and able to break down the things that you have. Because yes, the essays, you have only 500 words. You are tied with words, your answers are tied. So you put in your best foot, you put in there. But then again, it is the interview that you are able to, break down the things that you have said in your essays. That's the time you have the chance to sell yourself, to market yourself. Tell them why you should be part of the final 20. You understand? So the interviews is a very crucial part of Chevening Scholarship. You need to be able to prove your point because, like I said, and even the 60 people, these are people who have attended the interviews in previous years. Some have gone up to the interview level and unfortunately didn't make it. Some have tried their second, third, fourth attempt. Now is the time they are in. So it's a crucial stage where each and every member of the 60 squad feel like they can go through. So once your essay is picked, I mean, you have something they like, but they just can't pick the 20. They won't use the interview session to tune down the number, or to see further. So it's very crucial.
Talking about interviews, let's move away from move away from the number of people that are being selected and all that. Let us focus on what should people know going into the interviews for the Chevening Scholarship once they are being shortlisted for the scholarship. What should they know? What should they be preparing around? Because people are preparing now. The next couple of months, probably less, people receive emails that they've been shortlisted for the interview. So for my viewers or for my listeners or anybody that is preparing for this Chevening interview, what should they know? What should they prepare around so that they are able to impress on the interviewers?
All right. So usually, like I have said, they need you to break down. Basically, there are questions here. They have the discretion to ask you questions, throw questions at you from any angle. But mostly, all the questions will come from your 4 essays. So what you need to do is, usually, first of all, they ask you to tell them about yourself, which is 90% or 95% of the time, these questions comes first because it set the tone for them to, attack you more, like ask you the question. It's not like attack in a very bad way, but like be able to punch holes into your essays. This is where they will have the chance to ask you questions. So first of all, I'll say it's a very competency-based session. You should be able to own your essays. Usually people make mistake. They go and read past questions. It's good to have an idea about how people answer their questions. But the most important thing is for you to be able to explain or break down the examples in your 4 essays. So if I should touch on the tell the panel about yourself, this is where you should be able to tell them about your leadership skills, your leadership capacities, things that you have been able to do, your leadership capacities, your skills. It is very important at this point to throw in your leadership and volunteering skills and the experiences you have had over the years. This is where you are going to sell yourself, but don't restrict it to only academic and professional capabilities. Don't let the Chevening is not just about academic, they want to see your social skills. They want to see how you be able to sell the brand, how you be able to represent the Chevening brand anywhere you find yourself. So in this particular essay, you should have that kind of chronology. You should be able to flow. Don't, in this particular question, don't go and make a mistake of reciting to them. Flow. They want to have that. They want you to convince them further. Tell them the things or break down the things that you have been able to write in your essay. But in this particular question about telling them about yourself, you should focus on your leadership capacities, how you have used your leadership skills to impact people, how you've been able to take up voluntary positions, how you've been able to volunteer in the last few years, things that you've been able to do, and how you're able to sell yourself. So basically, you should be able to tell the story in this particular question when you ask you to tell them about yourself. you come from your academic and professional background, then link it up to where the Chevening Scholarship will be important and what you intend to do after you are done with the scholarship. So it's like a story, but you have to be mindful of the time because they have the right to stop you at any point in time. So at this point, it's very important to step in with your best foot because you may have, they can interrupt you at any time and you can't force your way through. You should be able to use the first 2-3 minutes judiciously to tell them what you think are your strong shots. Just put your, because, and this gives the best impression about you. You know, you should be able to even, you know, put yourself out there. Like by the time you are done with telling them about yourself, you should be able to leave your memory, you know, leave something with them that, okay, this guy or this lady is just getting there. You know, you should be able to summarize everything. Yes, other questions will come in, but then again, this particular question, yes, once in a while, they may not start with that, but majority of the time, get ready for such a question because they will mention your name, describe who you are. Can you please tell us a bit about yourself? This is the starting point. So it's good to be able to reflect and tell them who you are in this particular question. One other question too is mostly they'll ask you, why do you choose Chevening? You know, and this is where you should be able to tell them about how prestigious the Chevening Scholarship is, why you chose Chevening Scholarship than any other scholarship, the activities thereof that other scholars are doing or other scholars have done in the UK, you know, things to expect as a scholar. You understand me? Things you want to do when you get to the UK, you know, being a leader and being assisted with other brands is going to help the Chevening brand and how you think the Chevening brand will groom you as a future leader. You know, so such a question, people may answer it differently, you know, but the ideal way, from my perspective, is picking around these points, telling them how prestigious it is. Chevening is not just an academic scholarship, you know. This is the only scholarship that they don't just dump you for a better choice of word in the UK. They monitor your progress. They monitor your welfare. You are linked, apart from your professors and your academic superiors, you are linked with a program officer who is in charge of your welfare, your challenges, and all of that. So it's not just a scholarship, it has career-related seminars, conferences, which are very important to your career progress. You understand me? So this is a valid point because if at the end of the day you are not able to tell them why of all these scholarships you want to take Chevening, then I'm sorry, it's very tight. You should be able to explain to them why you chose Chevening. So I think some of these examples, and also they have a wide alumni network. It's very essential to chip in this, you know, and some of the networking programs, like I said earlier, you know. And you can also bring in new examples based on your circumstances at the time of the interview, because you might have applied in December. By March, you're into 3 months, so many things can happen. You might have achieved new milestones. You might have changed jobs, you know, so many things can come up. So you should be able to, it's always good to go beyond what is in the essays and explain, even if nothing has changed, you should be able to tell them more about the things you have stated in your answers. And your answers should mostly reflect how others have benefited from your scholarship, you know, like, how do you call it? The scholarship, how other people will be able to benefit if you're able to, you know, go through the scholarship. And there's this question that mostly also come up. They can ask you about how you're able to balance your priorities. You know, they want to check your tenacity, how you're able to multitask. You get it? Because they want people who who match the brand. You know, that is how they marketed it. Like Chevening is a brand, it's a prestigious scholarship. So they are looking for those petty things. So you should be able, when they ask you that question, that how are you able to balance priorities, you should be able to tell them about how you prioritize them and why you prioritize something, you know, and tell them how your scale of preferences were put up, how you choose something, or how you were able to prioritize something over something. You understand me? So this is another, is about mostly you should know the things that you have said in your essays. That's why I'm not picking it broadly from your voice, because everybody and the examples they put in their essays. So from the example that I gave you from my essays, if they should ask me questions around it, I should be able to. But what the key thing is, you should be able to break it down. You should be able to give your best example, because in this case, it's not like you have the paper, you have the computer in front of you. You write, when you get tired, you come back to it on the spot. You should be able to tell them your strong points, in a minute or two. So always plan it, have your best foot, have your best examples. So when they throw the questions at you, you're able to break it down. Sometimes they'll stop you, like I said, for you to explain something, or for you to explain why you said something. You understand me? They can always interrupt you. So it's just about shooting your best shot and just flowing and just, showing some level of confidence and why you are saying whatever you were saying. You understand?
Beautiful.
So
Shooting your best shot and
yeah.
then justifying whatever you are saying. So key amongst several things that Elliot John has said today with regards to the interview is that know what is within your essays. You need to know them and then be able to put more clarification and provide more justification. And that is how you come out of the interview smiling. Because then if they throw questions from the interview to you and you're unable to respond to them, then, excuse me, there is actually a huge problem.
Yeah,
Now,
so
we are almost at the end of this conversation, and quickly, I would ask Elliot to provide our cherished listeners and prospective applicants of the Chevening Scholarship three profound or three great advices that it would want them to take keen note of in order to be successful in their Chevening Scholarship journey or application.
is it on the interview or the general?
Anything you want to say, it's up to you.
Yeah. So at this point, since we are in the interview era, maybe I will touch on the few mistakes that people do, so if it's possible, they can avoid it prior to the interview, So people mostly, when they are asked the questions, they are able to show that they have solutions to the problem, So focus on your 4 S's and not just the past answers that you have practiced, It's good to peruse through them, but focus on your 4 S's, and also do not practice using scripts, sell yourself, have that conversation, if possible, record yourself, because definitely if you are going to speak to people, a panel, they want to hear you out. So when it comes to the interview, people make these mistakes. They go and they read answers from online. It's good to know your way about what you are doing, but own it. Personalize your answers, and if you're able to defend or break down the example that you have given in your essays, you should be fine. Generally, if you want to ace this Chevening scholarship, I think it doesn't just start. You have to be intentional about it. If possible, even before you come out of your first degree, you should be able to know whether there's no typical Chevening scholarship, but you can work towards it. But it takes time. It's about your association, the impact, your student life, your involvement in school activities, your leadership. You necessarily don't have to be a leader, a prefect, or a council member. No, there are ways that you can impact life without necessarily getting chosen. You can take it upon yourself to impact the lives of people, show signs of leadership, have the influence. If you're able to be outspoken, be able to have this positive aura around you and all of that. So it's what I mean to say, it's a journey. Build that strong network with your lecturers, with your bosses at the internship, the number of internship that you'll be pursuing throughout your 4-year university degree period. So you have to be intentional about it. Yes, if you have got to this stage where I know most of the people who will be listening to us are people who are done with school, so they can't undo or do some of the things they were not able to do. But for the starters, I think you have to be intentional about it. from day one, you should pursue to make the good grades. You should pursue to have that kind of leadership approach in all that you do. You know, it's not just even at school, even at church. If you are done with school, you can pick up a role, you can pick the Sunday school, you can pick so many things around you, you know, and just make sure you make an impact. Even if 3 people are impacted by your services, it's a good sign. You can document it, put it in your essays, give examples. Like I said, it's not just school, it can be your community, it can be your church, it can even be your home. People have even used examples how they became the leaders in their home, how they were able to transform the lives of their siblings. All these are examples that you can use. So if you're done with school and you're trying to get examples, at least even if you're able to get one, you can attach so many examples from different aspects of your life, school, church, you know. So what I mean, you have to be intentional about it. But now, yes, I come back to those who have applied already. And you might have made a mistake. You might have not been chosen for the interview stage. But what I need to say to you is, if you are to go back to your essays next year or this year, if you look at your essays, you should be able to find where you fell short. Look at your examples, demonstrate it. Don't just mention them. You know, demonstrate it. Don't just tell them. Show them. You know, use the smart approach. Use figures. You know, capitalize on your success stories. You understand me? And let it flow. Don't just be all over the place. Let your leadership skills, like the example I gave, the same example, but I was able to use networking to get the same results. I was able to use leadership to get the same results. I fed the same people. So my leadership skills is to use what I have to make people a better people. I was able to use my networking to affect the same people, getting them connected to the right places. You understand me? Your courses should be able to reflect with your academic background, things that you have done or have learned in school. Then again, the same thing that you are learning, you want to learn for your master's, should be able to be things that will be beneficial, you know, with your career plan. You understand what I'm saying? So you should be intentional. You should be able to calculate. You should be able to know the things you are doing. You know, just take your time, follow the processes, the leadership skills. This is it. You have it. Be measurable. Know the things you are saying there. Know the examples. You know, think through. You may not have done so much. You know, just get your parts right and just.
So yeah, beautiful. So to briefly sum up all that Elliot has said about his 3 key counsel to prospective applicants or to people that have applied and are waiting to be shortlisted for the interview stage, be intentional about winning the scholarship. So make preparation towards it. Be very authentic, very, very key. I mean, you need to show authenticity. And then finally, appear prepared. And don't fixate your eyes on notes and all that, because once you do that and it appears like you're reading during the interview, should it be online, you lose your audience. Whoever is listening to you, you lose them, right? So
it's even risky. It's even risky because
yeah, and we talk about
for you to read to them, you are not being truthful to them, you know, because you are supposed to flow. So why are you coming to read notes to them?
For me, I think for me, and as on what I teach here at the University of Exeter, we make people understand that, look, you are free to make notes. People can forget things, but then the problem is when you are reading to people. Once you are reading to people, you appear incongruent, inconsistent. You are not able to hook your listeners, and that is actually a problem. Yeah. Try as much as possible to be smart. When we say smart, make sure examples you are citing are specific, S, they are measurable, A, they are achievable, R, they are relevant, and then T, they are time-based. Beautiful.
I need to still insist, for Chevening interview, you are not even supposed to bring notes. You get it? Like, yeah, it's a no-go.
So I'm saying that if it happens to be remote, because I mean people do remote interviews because
you can have a piece of paper in front of you on your laptop. Just to,
yeah, I mean,
tell you to flow. Yeah.
You're allowed. So on this note, before we jump to round up on everything, would you tell us in few words, just in a minute, your experience studying at the University of Westminster when you were selected for the Chevening scholarship in the UK?
Yeah, so it's awesome. You are able to tell the difference between your academic experience back home. It's sad, but you can tell how open lecturers and professors are, how the approach to learning and teaching differ from what you have back home. You know, the library facilities, the teaching facilities, the approach, the assignments, and all of that. It's a lifetime experience. It's good for people back home or people from where we come from to be able to experience this at some point in their life, because it gives you two different perspectives. You get it, and on top of it all, it's a good thing, because we are in a society where they want to see your experience. You get it. Sometimes it's good to have that kind of experience on your CV, so that at least when you are back home, you can have, yes, it's not the end of it, but it makes a point for you to have that kind of different experiences. You know, it plays a role in your career in a way. You know, it builds your confidence, knowing that, okay, you have had a taste of different education from different places. You understand me? And your approach to work and your career shows a bit of, you know, much like it shows that kind of difference. You understand me? So it's never the same. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And to close on this chapter, I want to emphasize the need for peer-to-peer review of your essays if you are now preparing to turn in a Chevening scholarship or any other scholarship. It is very, very imperative to engage other people in reviewing your essays. I want to emphasize the fact that I had to work with Elliot throughout his journey, from when he was writing, submission, through interviews, to the end of the scholarship application. So it is actually very important to have a peer to review what you are doing. Then you know that the things that your eyes couldn't spot or cannot spot, other people are able to spot that and then draw your attention to it. You are able to polish it, and you provide a more formidable, robust, solid, and a very coherent essays, arguments, and even prepare enough for your interview. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on this program. And I would thank John Elliot Hagan for taking this time out of his busy schedule to put out this strong, solid, wonderful insights out there to guide potential Chevening Scholarship recipients. We are cheering you on to win the scholarship. And please, once you win, do come back, let us know. Let us have you on this channel also to present how you were able to win this very scholarship. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming on today, and would see you again another time. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Nice having me.